Coming up, when we walk away from something, it's often difficult to retrace our steps. But what happens when we turn our back on good in favour of evil? Tonight's guest swapped her faith for drugs and partying. She spiralled downwards before hitting rock bottom and returning to faith. Now she's rebuilt the life she always wanted, and she's happier than ever before. Stay tuned for her full story on how she turned her life around and rediscovered the faith she thought she'd lost.
Welcome to Finding Answers. On tonight's programme, it's going to be different from the rest. Our guest this evening is someone who found faith. Someone who lived a wild lifestyle, who eventually found faith, but then went back to her old ways. But this time, her life turned around. She was able to change her life around. And the thing is, what happens when you think your life is moving forward, everything is going well for you, but then maybe you hit a brick wall. Maybe you come to a crossroads and you don't know where to turn, and eventually you go back. Of course, we can think of the obvious. We can think of people who have an addiction to something, and they say to themselves, you know what, I'm clean. And they try everything to, keep clean, but then they get a relapse. Maybe, you don't want to cheat on your partner anymore. You said, I'm not going to do this again. I'm going to be faithful to you. But then it happens once again. But our guest for tonight, someone who is now on the straight and narrow. She has fixed her life. You're going to find out later on in the program how she was able to do that. But of course, as well, the lifestyle that she went back to. Before we speak to Rachel, let's have a look at this very short testimony of someone who used their faith to beat their problems.
Hi, it's Rachel here with another week of Through Faith, It's Possible. And in this section, we have real life stories of people who have changed the impossible into the possible. And today I'm here with Taiwo, who's going to tell his story. Hi, Taiwo.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. Would you like to tell the viewers your story today?
Okay, so basically, before I found about the power of faith, I was highly involved with addictions. I used to smoke like almost every single day. There'll be moments where I'll get like 60 pounds worth of weed and I'll literally finish it in like a week. So it was that bad. And it was just horrible, man. Like I missed lessons. Like my mom found out things like happened at home, and it was really bad. But when I started hearing the word of faith, it got me angry, and I was really revolted. And I remember making the decision through faith, to like just get rid of this lifestyle. And I remember that day I had 20 pounds weed with me, and what happened was I had to make a decision, because after the meeting, the person that bought me, I told her that I wanted to go back, but then she was like, you're saying that you want to change, but why you still say you want to go back? And she took me to a place that was quiet. She was like, make a decision, change or weed. And I chose change. But she didn't just stop there. So what she told me to do was to throw away every single piece of the bud. And when I did that, I never went back.
Wow, that's amazing. So you got rid of all of your addictions?
Yes.
Wow, and how do you feel today?
Well, I feel much more happier, a lot light. I don't need to smoke anymore. I don't need to do gambling. I'm much more happy. I'm working. I'm happy, and everything is moving forward. This is brilliant, this is brilliant. So if you at home, maybe you're struggling yourself with an addiction, maybe you're struggling with another problem, please don't hesitate to get in touch with our advisors. You can call them on 0207 686 6300. Well, that's it from this week. So we'll see you next time for another Through Faith, It's Possible. And for now, we're going to go back to the studio.
So welcome back to Finding Answers. Now, tonight's topic is, it's possible to rediscover the faith you once lost or you think that you've lost. And I'm talking to you who say, I believe in God. I do believe in God, but I'm thinking of not believing anymore because, you know what, I made a mistake. I mentioned previously, maybe you used to take drugs, you used to drink, you used to sleep around, you used to do things that you regretted doing, but for some reason, you've ended up going back to those things. You've cheated on your spouse. You've continuously lied. You stopped lying, but then one lie, and then the floodgates, all the confusion, all the doubts, your mind, your conscience felt heavy again. And you even condemned yourself and you went back to your old ways. So much so that you even left God. Well, on tonight's program, we want to help you rediscover the faith that you still have, but maybe you're still punishing yourself, because of that guilt. And with me tonight is Rachel. Good evening, Rachel.
Yes, indeed. A lot of people obviously suffer from many things. You might go through something in life and you might recover from it, and then you might relapse. And this is completely normal. But one of the things which people say in this case is, well, that's it. There's no way out. I've relapsed now, so I might as well go back to all of this destructive behaviour. And why even bother trying to recover again? It's kind of like if someone's trying to give up chocolate for Lent, and maybe they slip up one day and they eat a piece of chocolate, and then for the rest of Lent they decide, well, that's it, I'm going to keep eating the chocolate. But there is a way which we can actually say, okay, I've made this mistake, but I'm going to move on, I'm going to move forward, and I'm going to recover. So I had a look at what some celebrities had to say, some well-known celebrities who had actually recovered from relapsing from certain things like addiction, partying, or drinking, a bit like our live guest did tonight. So one of these people is very famous. I'm sure you've all heard of Russell Brand. And he actually said he's got a bit of advice for everyone, and that's to know your own limits. So instead of comparing himself with his friends, who he said could have 1 drink or 2 drinks or even 3 drinks and manage to kind of rein themselves in before going too far, you have to set your own limits and know when you have to stop. Now, for him, that was absolutely nothing. He decided he couldn't have 1 drink because he knew he wouldn't be able to control himself after. So it really is getting to know your own limits rather than looking to someone else to give you that kind of advice, because obviously we're all completely different in this respect. Secondly, we've got Elton John, who suffered for years and years and managed to recover by himself, and then went back into the kind of destructive behaviour which got him into trouble. He then obviously realised that he needed to seek help. And he said it took him 16 years before he actually put his hands up and said, I need help from a professional, from someone who can actually get me through this properly. And only then did he start to recover. And lastly, we've got Kelly Osbourne. Easy for me to say. Kelly Osbourne actually said that she managed to get over her addiction and her relapse by giving herself another focus. So instead of focusing her attention and energy on the partying and on these negative habits, she switched these habits for something positive, and that was dancing and singing. So that actually, she says, saved her just from finding something else, channeling all of that energy into something else. But obviously, these are just tips, and it is extremely difficult, I understand, if you are going through a relapse. And I'm sure our live guest tonight will also be able to give some tips purely from her own experiences. She obviously went through quite a similar situation. What do you have to say on this tonight, Pastor Michael?
Well, there is hope for everyone. Whether you're a big name celebrity or you're just the average Joe on the street, it affects us all, right? We can slip up, but it's what you do once you are down. And I know that people who believe in God, people who have a faith, because there is this supreme, almighty God who is watching over them, actually is watching over all of us. But yet, because they feel as though they've slipped up, they feel as though it's the end of their world, and it's not. God is a forgiving God. He's a loving God, and He wants to help you to start again, to get up, dust yourself off, and move forward. And as we said, my guest for this evening is someone who did that. So it doesn't matter what you've gone through. It doesn't matter what you've relapsed back into. There is always hope. And on Finding Answers tonight, you're going to discover more. At the end of the program, there will be a prayer for you who can't seem to forgive yourself. You know, you feel accused, you feel weak, and maybe this prayer for you is a lifeline. So stay tuned, because your faith will help you on the road to recovering. All right? Rachel, if this person wants to contact us, how can they do so?
Well, they can get in touch with us either by phoning us. We always have an advisor waiting to speak to you. So you can call on 0207 686 6300. You could also email us if you'd prefer to email, even if you want to email one of the pastors directly. It's help@findinganswers.tv. You can also get in touch with us through social media. So if you'd like to get in touch through Facebook, just search Finding Answers. And it's the same with Instagram. Search Finding Answers and you'll see some behind the scenes footage along with some pictures of the crew who help all of this come together. You can also look up all of our old episodes on YouTube. All you have to do is search Finding Answers.
Well, there you have it. That's our details for tonight. And we're going to go for a break. And when we come back, we're going to meet my guest for this evening. See you after this.
Do the maths. Changing your life is not as simple as changing your hairstyle, your shirt, or rearranging the furniture in your living room. You're talking about years of deep-rooted habits, behaviours and problems that are not going to change overnight. Many may say, think positively, but the trouble with that is that you can't do or change anything with just thoughts. But add action into the equation and the outcome can be different. Let's do the maths. Positive thinking plus action equals a change. Whatever it is, if the change is significant, if it's worthwhile, then it will have to take time, effort, and homework from you.
Hi, I'm Chrissy B, and my show is all about improving your mental health and being happy. Join me every Monday, Wednesday and Friday at 10 p.m. on my channel Sky 203. Visit chrissybshow.tv for more information and subscribe to our YouTube channel Chrissy B Show. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Chrissy B Show and on our Facebook page, The Chrissy B Show.
Welcome back to Finding Answers. Now, joining me on the sofa is actually Pastor Christian. Good evening, Pastor Christian.
Good evening, Pastor. Good evening.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How is everything?
I'm well, thank you. So, tonight's topic, as we said, is it is possible to rediscover faith, Pastor Christian, right?
Yes.
It's possible. It doesn't matter what this person has gone through. It doesn't matter how big or small it might seem to them. Mm-hmm. But it's possible that they can return to God, right?
Yes, as long as the person, we believe this, that God is the one who gives us life. And while the person is alive, there is hope. I mean, if God doesn't believe that a person can change, since He is the author of life, He could just take the life out of the person, isn't it? Yeah. But He keeps the person alive. Sometimes even us, sometimes we wonder why there are people who, in our eyes, they are evil. In the eyes of the society, they are lost case, and yet they live. Mm-hmm. Why is that? It seems weird, isn't it? But if we understand the mind of God, I believe that God still gives hope. God gives, opportunity. He's the God of, chances, right? So while there is life, it is possible.
Yes.
But then we have to do something. And this is actually what we need to learn tonight.
There you have it. So let's meet our guest for this evening. Her name is Akapala.
Pushing me for the rest of the week, so it's like a boost.
Things were really tight.
Today, the way I see myself is completely different.
Hi Ada, welcome to the program.
Good evening, Pastor.
Now, you have an interesting story, not like, all our other guests who they come on and say their life was like this, very bad, and they came to the faith, they came to God, and their life changed. You actually left the old lifestyle that you used to live. You found God, but then, as Rachel said, there was a relapse, and you went back and you started doing things, not just the same thing, but it got worse for you.
Yes, that's
So
right.
tell us, how was your lifestyle before?
So my lifestyle before was a mess. I mean, before I found faith, I was already a mess anyway. So I was sexually abused by many people. One of them being, a very close family member as well. So I grew up very tormented. I grew up very, with a twisted mindset as well, And because of that, I had very little expectation of life because this happened when I was really young. So it was like the worst, the worst has happened. So let's go for it. Let's go all out. So I used to go out all the time. I was very empty.
Did you become sexualized?
Yeah, because it happened, I think it was 4 or 5. I don't know the exact age, but I was very young, very, very young. So from an early age, I was already very sexual. I mean, I fully, started these things when I was 11. So I was with different guys, and because I looked older for my age, so I was with guys, 5, 10 years older than me as well.
So it's the usual, they'll give you attention and you kind of like the attention, right?
I liked it, yes. And because, as I said, I was very empty and depressed, so I was just looking for ways to destroy myself, if I can say, to destroy myself more. And that's why I became very reckless. Anything that I knew that was bad for me, I wanted to do it. I wanted to be there. I wanted to try it.
So please describe the things you wanted to be at or try.
So I was always out at a party, and that's where I got introduced into drinking, and then I became addicted to drinking at a very young age. It became from drinking, alcohol pops, as they say, to strong drink. So I was on the rums, the whiskies, the spirits at a very young age. And as I was going into my teenage years as well, it just escalated out of control. I started smoking, I tried drugs as well. So everything was just going deeper and deeper.
And by this time, how old were you?
I was 16 now.
Right.
I couldn't have one relationship. So
at the same time?
I couldn't just I'd never remember having one relationship because I felt so hurt and angry.
Were you out to get men, guys?
Yes, because I was abused, I wanted to abuse as well, but not knowing that I was the one that was,
You were still the victim, right?
I was still the victim because really every girl wants, a stability. They don't want to be jumping from guy to guy, but I just didn't know what happiness or love or stability was because my childhood, as long as I remember, was a nightmare. It was my worst nightmare, what happened to me.
Now, horrible. It's horrible what happened to you as a young girl. What did you have flashbacks, for example, at night? Were you able to sleep? Inside, did you have this hatred for the one that did this to you?
You hit the
Describe
nail
your
on the
feelings.
head because, when I was awake, I was tormented, I was depressed, I was empty. When I was asleep, I used to have very, very vivid bad nightmares.
About him?
About him, about the things I was doing. When I say vivid nightmares, I mean it felt real.
Right.
So when I was awake, I was in hell. When I was asleep, trying to get some rest, I was in hell again. There was no peace, awake or asleep. It felt like I was always in darkness, and that's a very horrible place to be.
So even during the day, how did you feel? I mean, was your only escape, as you said, going out with guys, going out to parties, drinking, smoking? Did you try to find other means? Did you try to look for help in what you're feeling?
I tried, but the people I tried to confide in, they didn't know what to do. So they just didn't do anything. And that was hard because I picked up the courage to actually speak, you know, about it. And when I did, it was a closed door.
Right.
So I was thinking, I wish I'd never actually said anything because it felt like I was in a worse place because no one... Then I had this thought of actually, maybe no one can help me and this is just who I'm gonna be until the day I die.
Did you ever try to take your own life?
I had thoughts to. The most that I did was self-harm, which for me was the lowest because even though I was in a bad place, I always said I would never physically harm myself. I can, you know, mentally or emotionally, but I would never physically harm myself. And that's where I went to.
But what led you to do it? Was it, again, another escape? You know, I've heard many women say, you know, it's the pain, cutting yourself, it kind of releases that pain or, you know, hurt.
Yeah.
Is that what it felt for you?
Yeah, it was weird because, you know, my escape was the drinking, the partying, but I felt that wasn't a big enough escape for me. And I heard people say that they cut themselves and they felt a release. And I said, okay, let me try it. And I actually felt a release. It was that pain, I related to it. And that's what made me wanted to cut myself because it was like, wow, this is the realization, if I can say, of what is actually going. It was more physical now. So everything that was inside of me, I could physically feel it. So it's quite strange, but yes. Yeah, that's where I was.
It's weird, isn't it? You know, it's a cycle, right? Now, the thing is, you found help, didn't you? You found faith. You found a place of worship, and you kind of, your life started to change. Yes. Tell us about that. How did you kind of get help?
So yeah, one of my friends at that time, she invited me to a place of worship that she went to. And at first I was a bit skeptical because I'd tried everything. So when, you know, the idea of God can, you know, and I went to, you know, places of worship before, but you know, I was still empty. So when the idea of God came and he can change, you know, your life and your inside, I was thinking, I don't really want to hear it now. But I still tried because I needed something. I really needed something. And the more I was learning, you know, how to use my faith and things like that, the more I was really seeing a difference within myself. And the big thing was the nightmares, you know, from a few months of, you know, learning, you know, these things about God and faith, the nightmare stopped. And that for me was a big deal because I was going through that for years and years and years,
right.
Every single night.
So you started seeing a change?
I started to see a change in my life and within myself as well. Another thing that I learned at that time was about forgiveness and letting go, because I had a big problem with letting it go, with letting what happened go.
Forgiving the person.
Forgiving the person and forgiving me as well, because I always felt guilty. You know, I always thought, oh, maybe if I looked different or I was different or I was born differently, maybe this wouldn't have happened to me. So I had to let go of that victim mentality and forgive the person as well. So that was hard, but through my faith, I actually did it.
You were able to do it?
Yes.
Now, it seemed as though your life was heading in the right direction now, right? But as we mentioned, there was like a relapse. Something happened. And, you know, as we said, when you become a Christian, when you believe in God, we still have our human side, right? We're always going to be tempted. There are people, maybe you're watching, you're thinking, Christians, you know, they think they're all-knowing, they think they're perfect. But it's not that we're perfect. No one's perfect. But we still are tempted. Every one of us are tempted. And so Ada was tempted. Something happened, and then she, as we said, relapsed. She went back to her old ways, right?
That's right.
So
yes.
Can you explain what happened?
Yes, so I changed. Things started to move forward. I even started to help people, especially, you know, ladies and women who were sexually abused as well. I was able to help them. And then, without me realizing, I then made a mistake in relation to my love life. So I started to develop feelings, which isn't wrong, but it wasn't the right time for me.
Okay.
And then me and the person, we were speaking, you know, at times we shouldn't have been speaking about things we shouldn't have been, things I used to speak about before with the guys I used to be with.
Yeah.
And everything was hidden. So I didn't speak to anyone. I didn't speak to any of the pastors' wives. I was just in my own little world again.
Right.
And because of that, things just went out of, you know, spiraled out of control. My emotions got out of control. His emotions got out of control. And yeah, because of that, I went back again.
So you went back to the old lifestyle?
I did, yes.
You felt guilty for what you did. It was, you didn't sleep together.
No.
But just that feeling, that heaviness, your guilty conscience. What did you think? You know what? I haven't changed. What was going through your mind?
So it was that, and I think the reason why I didn't sort of open up about it was because I started to help. So I felt, well, actually, I'm strong, I've changed.
Yeah.
But it wasn't that I wasn't strong or I hadn't changed. Like you said, you know, we go through temptations, but it's not because we're going through temptation, it means that we didn't change. We just need to, you know, face it. But I didn't see it that way. I just saw it as, wow, so I've been lying to myself. So I didn't really change. I still have bad roots and things inside of me. So it's all a lie.
So let me just leave.
Let me just leave.
Right.
Because the last thing that I wanted was to be deceived. That was my fear. Oh, I didn't want to be deceived. So when all these things happened and I found out what was inside of me, that's when I thought, this can't be for me, and I'm just going to go back to what I know.
So tell us, you went back to smoking, sleeping around, things like that, yeah?
So now I was older, so, you know, I wasn't living at home as much, so I was completely free in my mind. And yeah, I went back. If I can describe how I was when I left God, I just became dirty. Because everything that I swore I wouldn't do, I did.
Right.
I remember I even used to have a personal challenge within myself of, I'm going to have a guy from every nationality. I'm not going to have one relationship, I'm going to have many. And I remember some nights I would drink myself to sleep, which again, before I would drink for fun, now I was drinking myself to sleep. I remember sometimes I would go to work with hangovers, run into the toilet to throw up again. It was just, that's why I say it was dirty. I became a person I didn't want to be.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was worse.
Was there ever a time you thought, I want to go back, but I just can't? You know, is God going to forgive me? Did that thought run through your mind a lot?
Every single day. Every day I just wanted to go back to God. I wanted to be who I was when I was with him, confident, strong, free. And even though I knew that he was God and he loved me no matter what, for some reason I just couldn't go back to him. I couldn't go back. And it was hard because, you know, I remember when I would, you know, pray and, you know, do things for my faith, you know, I felt stronger. But when I was without him, it was really bad.
You've heard her story, and maybe you used to attend a place of worship. You still have a desire for God. Maybe you don't even believe in God, but your conscience accuses you because what you did, it's weighing heavy on your mind. Your family, your spouse don't know what you've done, and you feel bad. That thing that you did, you tried, is eating away inside of you. You can be forgiven. And after the break, you're going to find out how her life changed. Pastor Christian will be with us again on the sofa, to discuss more about this. We'll see you after this break.
Do the maths. Changing your life is not as simple as changing your hairstyle, your shirt, or rearranging the furniture in your living room. You're talking about years of deep-rooted habits, behaviours and problems that are not going to change overnight. Many may say, think positively, but the trouble with that is that you can't do or change anything with just thoughts. But add action into the equation and the outcome can be different. Let's do the maths. Positive thinking plus action equals a change. Whatever it is, if the change is significant, if it's worthwhile, then it will have to take time, effort and homework from you.
Welcome back to Finding Answers. Just before the break, if you were with us, you've heard Ada's story of how she backslid, as we kind of term it in Christian circles. But you're going to find out how her life actually turned around. She believed in God, but she found the opportunity to forgive herself and to move forward. So, Ada, back to you. Thank you for sharing your story with us. It's a very strong story, right? And I'm sure it's going to help many people, whether they believe in God or not, how to find forgiveness.
Yes.
So, your lifestyle it had got out of hand. It was worse. You did things you wouldn't imagine you would do.
Exactly.
But how did you, find the strength to come back to the same place of worship that you started off in?
So I had to realise, to be honest, I didn't have the strength, if I can be brutally honest, because I went so low, because as I said, I became a person I saw I'd never become. But I knew one thing, that my life with God was 10 times better than what I was living at that moment. And that was enough for me to pick myself up and say, I'm going to go back to God. It wasn't easy at all. It was probably one of the hardest things that I did, because so many things I was battling with, but you failed before.
I mean, the battle was not only with you, but it's those thoughts in your head. I'm going to go back, and those people, they're going to think, where have I been? Do they know what I've done? All these thoughts run through your mind, right?
Yes, exactly.
And that was your struggle?
It was my struggle, especially because I was actually, if I can say it as an example to some, or to a few of them. So it was a bit shameful for me, because I was thinking, but I was helping them, and now I felt like I was crawling back. And there was a lot of shame, there was a lot of humiliation.
Probably a bit of pride as well, because now I have to kind of start all over again.
Exactly, and as well as pride, it was also, with the starting again, is will I be able to go until the end this time? So I felt like I didn't have enough energy to start again. I felt, oh, actually, can I be bothered to do this all over again? So that was a big thought for me at that time as well. But as I said, I think I'd had enough, because before I found faith, I was in hell. Then I found God, and then I left it to go back to hell. It just didn't make sense to me. I had to use my intelligence and think, do I really? Because everything came back. The nightmares came back. The depression came back. But with God, I didn't have that.
And that's proof that these problems are spiritual, right? She found help in a place of worship. She found help. They stopped. But when she went back, for whatever reason, she went back to her old lifestyle, they returned again. It's something spiritual. You can't deny the fact that there's something not right. There's a connection. And maybe you're going through this, the same thing. Do you want to keep on living a life like this? Doing the worst things? Nightmares return, suicidal thoughts return, you're hearing voices, whatever it is, right? Here now, what happened? So, you went back, you plucked up the courage. Now your life changed. What was the difference this time? Where did you go a step further and say, no, this is it, no turning back?
I think for me, I had to find me. I had to find who I was. And I think the first time everything happened quick, the change. I did change, but I didn't deal with a lot of things because I was abused young and I was abused for a lot of years, and that's a big deal. That's not something that you can shrug off. So yes, I found faith, but I had to, and I forgave, I learned about forgiveness, but there were still certain things and behaviors and attitudes and mentality that I had to change.
The word you mentioned before was roots. You mentioned the word root, didn't you?
I did, yes.
There were some roots that were still there that hadn't been plucked out.
They hadn't been dealt with. I didn't face them. So when a situation came, you know, I didn't know how to deal with it when the situation came in my love life. Because yes, I had faith, but there were still things that I hadn't let go of, I hadn't dealt with, I hadn't spoken about. So this time, when I returned, I think just being honest with myself that I'm not Superwoman, and yes, I can change and many things can change, but there's still things inside of me that I have to deal with, certain ideas that I have from, you know, the past. It doesn't mean I haven't changed or I'm not a new woman. It just means that there are things that will come from time to time that I have to deal with, I have to explore, I have to speak about.
Tell us the things that you did differently.
I was much more open. So, you know, if I had a question or a doubt, or if I found a weakness inside of me, instead of hiding away or making it that be-all or end-all, I didn't change, I'd ask a question, I spoke about it. And 9 times out of 10, or 10 out of 10, when I spoke about it with someone, it was clarified there and then, instead of me, you know, mulling it over and, oh, what does this mean? What does this feeling mean? No, I think that was the one of the different things I did this time.
And away from the place of worship, was there anything that you had to do, for example, at home, at work, on your own? What did you have to do?
Oh yeah, so I had to let go of all the guys. I had to let go of, you know, I stopped the addiction anyway, the drinking, the smoking, the partying. So when I was, you know, usually I was at a party or a club at the weekend. Now I was focused on myself, on my work. You know, I had to really make a decision that I wasn't going to go to the places I was going or speak to the people I was speaking. Not even just the guys, but even friends. You know, people that I was with at that time. They weren't bad people, but for me, they weren't leading me to the right place as well. So I had to let them go as well. It wasn't easy, but I was just fully decided.
So you know, your story is a very strong and inspiring story, but we're running out of time, unfortunately. Tell us, Ada, how is life today? How is your faith today?
My faith today, I would say, is strong. You know, at the moment, I'm at a place that it's unshakable as well. But not because I don't face battles, because I do, but because now I understand myself and I understand faith, and I understand that I can't do everything, or I don't know everything, and sometimes it's not okay to be weak, but we will get weak. We're human beings, and when we get weak, we just need to find support, find help. And one thing I've learned as well is that when we make a mistake, it's not a decider of our faith. It's part of the journey. It's like our bodies. Sometimes we get ill. We just need to be get well again, and that's the same with our faith. So today I'm happy. You know, I sleep well, sleep like a baby. speak too much sometimes. I'm in a good job, you know. I love life. I love life because I love who I am today, you know. It's like I'm in a dream.
Yes.
Dream mind, dream
The
body.
change has been real this time.
It's been real and it's been permanent.
Great.
Yes.
Ada, thank you for coming, sharing your story with us.
Thank you for having me.
Pastor Christian, what an amazing story.
What a testimony. I'm just here listening to her testimony. I have so many thoughts in my head.
Yeah.
And it shows us, and it shows to everyone that it is possible when a person is really decided to embrace the faith. It is possible for them to come back, to return to God. It will not be easy, Pastor Michael. Like she said, there were many struggles, many battles, many fights. But because of her decision, it was actually possible.
And Pastor Christian, this doesn't just apply to people who believe in God. This also applies to people who also don't believe in God because they make mistakes as well. You know, whatever you want to call it, we say it's sin, right? It's doing something that your conscience accuses you of. You don't have to believe in God. Your conscience will tell you what you're doing is wrong.
Right.
So, if your conscience is weighing heavy on your mind, you can't sleep. You feel bad for what you've done. And then you think you can never be forgiven. Then, you can't live the rest of your life like this. Either you own up, you confess to the one who you've hurt, you've betrayed, right? Or forgive yourself. And the only one that can really do this is God. Because, you know what? He's the one that helped us. He's the one that made us. He's the one that wants us to live the life that Ada is living now.
Yes, and the problem is many people, they don't allow God to do this in their life because it must be a decision from you. You have to believe that God can forgive because I always say this, that God doesn't accuse us. It's not the job of God to accuse us. You see, this heaviness in your conscience is brought by the wrong things we did, yes, and as you were saying, it's something spiritual. If we look at it in the spiritual way, someone accuses us and it's not God. It's the evil. That's his job. One of his name is accuser. So he's accusing us. And this accusation brings doubt. And doubt is the problem. That's why you doubt yourself. That's why you doubt God's forgiveness. You doubt if you can change. But I hope that this testimony opens your understanding that it is possible. I mean, Pastor Michael, if a person is really decided to come back to God, really decided to take things seriously, they will change.
Yes.
They will change. And I would like even to take this opportunity. I know that the time is not really, don't have a lot of time, but I would like to take this opportunity to speak even to those who are already in the faith. Maybe you believe in God, you are in the faith already. You see that it is also possible for you to lose this faith, to be cold. If you don't watch out, all of us, Pastor, we are not exempted in this. If we don't watch out, if we don't ask for help, like she said, there was those little doubts, she keep it. She allowed that to grow. My friend, all of us can fall into this trap as well. You know, it's even a law. When I was studying, we have this law of thermodynamics. The second law of thermodynamics is entropy. It means that everything becomes, disaster afterwards, messed up afterwards. It happens. Like this here. I have here the cup of coffee that Rachel gave us earlier. When she first gave me this, it was very hot. But now I can drink it because it's cold. What did I do to make it cold? Nothing. All I had to do was leave it here. Keep it there, and it becomes cold by itself. That's what happened with our faith. It's a constant work. We need to keep our faith, in the fire, like we say. If we stop, from the moment we stop, entropy comes. It destroys us.
Yes. And, it doesn't matter your position. I'm going to add on to this. It doesn't matter your position in that place of worship. You could be a pastor, but how long can you keep on living a lie before your congregation? You could be, as some churches say, the praise and worship leader, the leader of the Sunday school, looking after children. You could be counseling other people, but you're living a lie. You could have a responsibility in your job, right? But you have a second lifestyle, and it's not right. If you want our help, then give us a call now. The number's on the screen. It's 0207 686 6300. We're going to go for a break. When we come back, we'll be saying a prayer to ask God to help you. And not only help you, but for your conscience to be free, clean, for you to start moving on in your life. It is possible. If you want our help, stay with us. We'll see you after this break.
Where DKW, a different kind of woman. So I want to find out if you might have dyslexia.
My memory's not too good today.
And it's almost like you have to be this superwoman.
Years and years ago when I watched Titanic, and obviously My Heart Will Go On came on, and it just brought me back to that time.
And I was with 4 other sisters. Lord have mercy. So you know how they were. You're not gonna go over there and say nothing?
Come on, a little closer now, and let me know that you're mine. Woo!
It's going to be your turn to do your macaroons. No competition.
We're here at Britain's Top Designer 2015.
This is DKW. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week.
Follow My Channel's updates on Facebook. Like your favourite videos and see pictures of your favourite artists. Access our Twitter @MyChannelUK and get to know what's on with My Channel. Visit tvmychannel.com and be connected to our world. My Channel, a whole new world of entertainment.
If I tell you a story, and you like that story, what kind of story is it?
It's a comedy.
No. Manchester
United.
I'm a pro.
Although I'm Chelsea. Love talk, time to communicate.
Okay. Say that word, but differently.
It's time to communicate. Right, so we are in a relationship.
What were you doing? You're not supposed to tell me the word. We are in a marriage.
Yes.
Okay.
And we are very serious about it. So what does that say?
A serious marriage.
No. It has to do with your brain.
Intelligence.
What?
Intelligent love.
Yes. See, I'm getting good at this.
Love Talk on My Channel, Sky 203, every Saturday, 3 p.m.
Welcome back to Finding Answers. Now, before we go for the prayer, I'd like to explain to you the reason why Ada did what she did. And it also relates to you as well, whether you believe in God or not. And I'm sure you've heard of the term born-again Christian. What does born again mean? The reason why Ada left God, left the presence of God and went back to her old lifestyle was because the new birth hadn't taken place in her life. When we come to God, we're supposed to change, right, our lives. We're supposed to now follow the teachings of the Bible, right? And, live following God. But what happens when the person doesn't truly change inside? Then they are still that same old person. It's like them being born again and coming back, knowing the things that were wrong, but not doing them anymore. The thing is, she was still doing those things. Pastor Christian, there are many people who believe in God, right? And they say, I am born again, but they haven't changed inside.
Yes, and this is very dangerous, very, very dangerous, because here comes those situations where sometimes people think that a person is truly a Christian just because they attend the church. they participate in meetings, but it doesn't make you a child of God. Attending a church, right? Attending a service doesn't change you really. Like you said, the change must happen from inside. See this difference. Sometimes a person is, asked, so why don't you smoke? Why don't you smoke anymore? Before I know that you used to smoke and now you don't. Why? Because in my church, because in my religion, it's forbidden. So the person is not smoking because his religion tells him not to do. So it's not a change inside.
Yeah.
So why don't you do that bad thing? Because now I'm supposed to do this. So it's like an obligation. This is not something that comes from inside. When you said being born again, a new person, there is no such thing as because my church tells me this or my church tells me that. The person inside is so new that they hate what they used to do before.
Yeah.
Right? And this is the real meaning of being a new person. When we put this born again, it sounds, very religious, but it's not. It's being a new person. A new mind, a new mentality. The way you see things is different. And this has to happen. Otherwise, a relapse will happen, right?
Exactly, Pastor Christian. And if you say, I want help, I want to change, I want to confess, you know what, I don't want to live a lie anymore. I don't want to, deceive myself. I don't want to go back and do what is wrong and do it 10 times, 100 times over and worse. Then help is at hand right now. If you'd like to get your glass of water ready, we are going to pray for you. God, He loves you and He wants to help you move forward and live a life that is pleasing to Him, but also you having that inner peace that you so deserve and you so crave for. It's time for prayer.
My Father, in the name of Jesus, I would like to thank you, my God, for this testimony of Ada that shows us, my Lord, that it is possible for us to return to you. And we learned in this program that it's not too late. If this person is watching us right now, hearing these messages, hearing this testimony, I do believe that you were the one who let this person watch and see that there is a way out. I mean, sometimes, my Lord, we beat ourselves up because of what we have done. Sometimes these accusations, this guilt is in our conscience, my Lord, and we think that we cannot be forgiven. And this is a lie. This is a lie, because when we come to you with sincere heart, just like that story of that boy who left the house of his father, he went out and started living a wild life, the Bible says. But then when he came to his senses, he said, I'm going to go back to the house of my father, ask him for forgiveness. The Bible says that when he was on his way, the father was actually there, waiting for him with an open arms. And I do believe, my Lord, that you are like this right now. You are ready to embrace this person, to show this person your mercy, your forgiveness. So, my Lord, I ask you now, please cleanse this mind, cleanse this heart from any guilt. Cleanse this person, my Lord, from all these accusations. Let this person be free. Sometimes we pray here for healing of the body. And maybe what this person needs now is the healing of the soul, the healing of the faith. So heal this person right now in Jesus' name. I ask you to bless this water as well. So when we drink this, let it be a symbol of your purification. When we drink this, my God, we want to be cleansed. In Jesus Christ's name, it is blessed, and you may drink it in faith right now.
God has forgiven you. Now, the next thing you need to do is believe that you are forgiven by God, and also forgive yourself, okay? There's no point you punishing yourself if God has forgiven you. Now it's time to move on. Move forward in your life, right? And take steps now. If you see there are certain people around you that were influencing you to do things, then leave them, cut them off from your life, right? Abandon them. Abandon certain places. Abandon certain things that you were doing before. Start to live your life, right, in the right way. You know what you need to do, okay? You're just helping yourself, okay? But I believe that your conscience is now clean. Clear, so you can live as God and you want to live your life. All right? Until the next time, have a wonderful evening. We'll see you on the next Finding Answers.